What's up guys, today I'm going to be doing a complete beginner's guide on this game Absolvement. I did make a video back on this game a while ago when it was in early development. It's still in early development, but there's way more content now than there was before. And also for those of you that don't know, there is an open playtest for this game that's still going on. I don't know when it'll end, but you can check their Discord for more information about that and how to get tester as well. Anyway, let's start with the beginner's guide. When you do load into the game, you have 4 slots, but the 4th one does have to be bought with Robux. So you're giving 3 initial free ones, and since I already have one, I'm going to pick slot 2. So let's look through the character customization. Unfortunately, you can't pick a name. You have to buy that with Robux, but you can choose your races. They each all individually have debuffs and buffs. So this one has 20% shadow damage, negative 10% max health. This one doesn't have anything. If you want to go that, it's kind of boring in my opinion, but yeah, they all have their own individual things. I'm not going to go through each and every one of them because it would take a while, but yeah, you can pick that based on what build you want to go. Here's all the variants of everything. Character customization. The more important stuff is your skills. So this is the skill you're going to be initially given when you spawn in, and you can pick whatever you want. It doesn't really matter which one you choose because you can always just get it with shards. Progression in this game is pretty straightforward and it's pretty easy to get new stuff, so yeah. But I do recommend going rapier, katana if you do like fast swing stuff, and this is more for like heavy hitters right here. Here's all your sins. So if you've ever played Deepwoken, these are kind of like your flaws. You get to choose which one you want to pick. You do have to pick one. So if you're a new player, I do recommend going like pride or theft. These don't really matter. I mean, they are not going to like affect your gameplay too much, like sloth or greed. So yeah, this is basically the character customization. Finalize our character. So as you guys can see, I just loaded into the game, and we can start by just double clicking our hotbar to move around our skills. Just move around. Then you can go top left to your keybinds, see all your keybinds, look at everything. I do recommend changing some of them since they're a little bit weird. We can just mess around with that. I forgot to mention this, but the game is permadeath. You start with 3 lives, and every time you die, you do lose 1 until you wipe at 0 lives. To explain the hotbar, the UI a little bit more, the red health bar is your health, obviously. The circle on your right is your roll cooldown, and then the one on the left is your parry cooldown, and then below that is your mana bar. And once you're done with that, you can come over to this NPC, talk to him if you want. He tells you mostly about the game and the basics. And this NPC over here is just vanity. He drips out your character basically. It's 1 void fragment for 1 Robux or 50 for 50. And then if you come over here, this is the soul tree. So the little currencies at the bottom, this is your gold. So this is your money, currency, whatever. This is for the soul tree, the soul fragments. You can spend 500 of them to get 1 skill point, and this buffs the tree you're going to go on the slot. These are all slot wide, by the way, so it does transfer. And your VF are just the void fragments from the vanity, and yeah, you can choose whatever you want, this path. And you can get these, the soul fragments, from wiping characters, and that's basically it. So you can come over here. This area over here is where you can go to the town, and at the town there's these merchant NPCs, the blacksmith, where you can buff your armor and buff your sword damage. And you can come over here, barber, 50 gold. They all cost money, as you can see. And what I recommend you guys do first is come over here to this guy, Valorith, and you can get quests. So whatever you want, it doesn't really matter. Most of these quests aren't really that hard, but let's just choose a standard one. Open 5 chests. That's pretty easy. Over here is this another merchant. You can sell stuff right here. So if I want to sell stuff for money like this, and yeah. Alright, so to explain how you're going to get your moves, I did hop on a different slot to make this a little bit easier, but basically you're going to get a bunch of these cracked crystal shards or whatever. They have different rarities depending on what they are, but basically what you can do is you can use these. So let's say I want to get a nature move, and I'm going to use this. It only costs 1 to get a move, or I can combine it for a better rarity one. So let's do that. And now I have a nature crystal that I can use, and I can crush it back into the 3 regular common ones. But let's say I got a faint nature crystal from a chest, but I want a shadow crystal instead, because I'm going to start building up for like trade ups or whatever, right? So let's say I want to trade with him. I can go to this guy, nature, and I can scroll down, look for shadow, and then it'll turn it into 1 common shadow. So now I have 3 shadow crystals instead of just having 2 before. Then I can combine these to make another common shadow fragment. You're basically just moving around your crystal shards, and yeah, this guy's pretty useful for that. You can also sell them. I don't really know how much they go for. $3. Yeah, it's not really worth it. Anyway, that's how you use this guy. To elaborate more on my inventory, here's all your weapons you're gonna have. These are your artifacts. They're like pretty rare. It's like a 0.5, I believe, from every chest. I'll link the Trello in the description so you guys can see. It tells you mostly everything you need to know, like all the moves you can get. And here's all your potions. You can equip these. So let's say I have a potion, I want to equip this, you equip this. Then you hold V and you have your little potion arrow here, so you can eat those in dungeons. So yeah, that's pretty much all the important stuff about the starting spawn point. If you want to know what your quest is, you can just click the little exclamation point. To actually get into a dungeon, you want to go top left, go right here, create your party. You can join public lobbies or whatever. Anyway, you can create your party, whatever your name. You can go private if you want your friends to join, up to 5 people in one party at a time. And you can go hard mode as well. I don't really recommend doing this, but yeah, let's create it. And here's all your party. You can invite your friends. Boom, 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 boom. And yeah, so let's get into a dungeon. I have just arrived in the dungeon. So you can start the layer by clicking the top middle. And as you can see, we do have a mini map. You can hit M to make the mini map smaller and see like an overview of the entire map. Basically, I'm gonna explain the mini map first. The orange squares are going to be your doors, so this is how you enter other rooms, and the red squares right here are going to be like staircases or ladders to get onto different floors. You're not always going to have a door on each floor, it's going to be random. And as you can see, there's 2 doors right here, so let's start the layer. You can enter this room right here. If you're going to be playing solo, there's usually only like 1 to 2 enemies in each room. And the enemies don't really do a lot damage or like are smart AI wise, because you're only on difficulty 1. Like the game gets significantly harder at higher dungeon levels, but for now, like, you can kind of just play with your brain off. But if you want to learn how to parry, it's like now is a good time to do that in these levels. But yeah, you can just get a feel for the combat. It's pretty basic stuff, like it's just F to parry and whatnot, roll cancel, right click and whatnot. You can kind of just stat check those guys. Here's the game's main progression type. So you pick cards. You can pick whatever card you want. This is all your stuff. I'm just going to do this. And to see all your inventory stuff, you can press your inventory keybind. Go here, here, here. And you can see your stats right here. Once you get to higher level dungeons, I do believe you start entering dungeons with debuffs at the bottom left. So you'll start to notice that as well. And here are your potentials. So these are card talents. And yeah, you can click those, see what they do. But for the most part, once you're at this low level, like, kind of just stat check them, if I'm being honest. The AI does get harder at higher dungeon level, but for now you can just do whatever. Sometimes you're just gonna have rooms with 1 enemy, 2 enemies, but it does scale depending on what you are. And these cards are, you can pick an element you want to invest in, so this will give you bonus damage. So I'm gonna make a shadow build this video just for the sake of it. So let's pick shadow, and we can go back into our inventory, see our stats, scroll down, shadow damage 7%, because I just added some. So the mini map shows maroon enemies, like they're not, if I go down this ladder right here, the enemy's gonna be dark red. Yeah, the enemy's gonna be dark red, but you can differentiate like what level the enemy is on depending on what color they are, so on the mini map. So as you can see, this guy is not on my level. He's right here. He's directly below me, and we can go check that by seeing he's actually right there. So yeah, it just depends on what color they are, and you can see the enemies on the mini map. And a little beginner tip is that whenever they go invisible like that, they usually just end up behind you, so they're pretty easy to predict. And as you can see, we grab our orb at this door right here, the one we entered from. Let's just choose this again. I can choose whatever I want. You can always end up changing this with one of the things I'm going to talk about later. But yeah, another thing about this game is these little barrels. So these barrels will have shiny little particles on them. You can swing on them, and oh yes, you can get wind crystals. You usually get like consumables from it, but if you do manage to get one of those, you can always see it in here. You can use this. Let's see what I get. I get a wind move, wind reaver. Yup, this is pretty cool. Boom. It's basically like the wisp from Depot. And this little shiny room with all the particle effects, obviously, is your boss room. And yeah, you can enter your boss room. So the boss is random every time. There's 4 main bosses that you're going to be fighting, and then I'll show a bunch of the other ones on screen. I'm not gonna lie, if you're new to this game, you should probably play with friends, but because the bosses, they're kind of hard. At level 1, like, you're gonna be struggling just a little bit with them. Alright, for this boss, just make sure you're pairing his attacks. Like, most of his attacks are pretty well choreographed, so you can see when he's gonna swing, when you should swing, when parry. Like these orbs, I get frozen there. I probably should have parried that. As long as you don't get frozen, like, this boss is pretty simple. Just try not to make any mistakes. And as you can see, once the yellow bar is completely filled below his health bar, he does get staggered, so you can get some hits in. This is probably the best time to use like your best damaging attacks or whatever. And once you kill the boss, you do get this stuff. See all the stat points, so you can see contribution, see if your friends actually did work or not. Your XP levels, your level scales off the difficulty. Get more XP based off how well you cleared the rooms and everything. As you can see, I get a full clear bonus, killed all enemies. Going or leave. In this case, I'm gonna leave. So I'm in another dungeon, and we're just gonna run through it really quickly. And here's another one of these things about the game, is these orbs in dungeons. So usually there will be a little orb in your dungeons. For this one, this is a merchant shop, so we can see, do you sell anything? And we can get this. This is pretty cool, 900 monies. You could always end up going back into the dungeon and looking for like barrels or anything to sell stuff, so you could sell this for money. So this is another orb, which I call a devil deal, and basically you get 3 options: wealth, power, and fortune. Wealth gives you a random amount of money, power gives you a choice of 3 weapons, 1 rarity higher than the one you're currently holding, and fortune gives your card hand that boosts the rate of getting a mythical / unique card. And you're also guaranteed to get a debuff, which you can see at the bottom left of your screen if you hover over that. Alright, so I went into another dungeon, and here's another one of the little rooms you can do. So this one right here is Simon Says. You click all the things in a row. I believe there's 3 levels to it, so let's just do it right now. You can touch it. See, green, green, yellow. There's only 3 in that one. So green, green, yellow. Blue, red, yellow. Blue. And this is the last one. Yellow, yellow, green, green, green. So 2 yellows and 3 greens. Yellow. 1, 2, 3. And you get an orb for completing it. If you don't complete it, they do spawn enemies and you have to kill them, and you won't get an orb for that. That's one of the dungeons as well. And here's another one of these little dungeon things that you can do. You offer some health or potential. You can read what this does. I'm going to choose health. You basically just get another card hand by replacing something else. So let's say I want to get rid of this. I don't know why I picked this. You can give this up and reroll into something different. Like, boom. Then you do have negative 15 max health for the next 5 dungeons. And also, when you do certain deals with certain fountains or whatever, you do get a debuff. So right here I have negative 5 total elemental effectiveness. Alright, so for this Stonewatcher guy, he's pretty simple. To be honest, I wouldn't really try parrying him. I would just roll most of his attacks because his attacks are pretty janky and hard to read. When he has rocks flying around him like this, you cannot hit him. You don't do any damage to him. I believe he can break the shield, but I'm not too sure about that, so I wouldn't really try it. Yeah, he's pretty easy to attack. You can just roll most of his attacks. He's pretty slow at hitting, and when he explodes like that, you want to dodge that. Like this, you can just roll this. When he does these 3 stomps into the ground, I recommend rolling towards him or attacking towards him on the 3rd one, so you can just get some free hits and like how I did. And you can just run around, roll his attacks, dodge that. Pretty easy to dodge, and you can just rinse and repeat this. I don't really recommend trying to parry anything because, yeah, like I said earlier, his attacks are kind of weird to read. But if you you guys do want to see me do a more in-depth video about how to kill the bosses if you're having trouble, just let me know in the comments and I'll try and make something about that. Alright, well that's going to be the end of the guide. I hope you guys enjoyed watching, and if you have any comments or like concerns about the game, you can always look in the Discord or the Trello. The Trello covers most of the stuff you need to know. This was just like an overall like guide for you guys, and yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed watching, and I'll see you guys in another 6 months.